Have you ever felt incredibly determined at night, brimming with willpower and motivation to start a new habit, a grand plan, or a life-changing turning point, only to wake up the next morning and find it all gone? The morning comes. You open your eyes, glance at the clock, feel cold, tired, and discouraged, and you say to yourself, "I'll start again tomorrow." Day after day, you begin and give up, make promises and break them, and you wonder, why can't I stay consistent with myself? It's not that you lack dreams. It's not that you lack ability. It's because you've never truly learned how to make yourself stay disciplined. In this video, we'll dive deeper into this problem. No empty cliches, no fleeting motivational speeches that fade after a few minutes. Instead, we'll explore truly effective strategies grounded in a philosophy that's over 2,000 years old. Stoicism. Stoics don't live by their emotions. They live by reason. They don't wait for inspiration to act. They act to create inspiration. And most importantly, they remain steadfast like a rock in a storm. Not because they're fearless, but because they've trained themselves not to be controlled by fear. If you're tired of starting and stopping, if you want to become a stronger, more disciplined, and unshakable version of yourself, this video is for you. Stick around until the end, because you won't just learn how to stay consistent, you'll learn how to live a life free from being manipulated by your emotions. And if this topic resonates with what you're searching for, hit the like button to spread this motivation to others. Subscribe so you don't miss our next videos, and drop a single word in the comments below. Ready? If you're truly committed to change, let's get started right now. Strategy 1. Write down what you can control and what you can't. Everyone talks about consistency, discipline, and the need to relentlessly pursue goals. But few highlight the most critical point. You can't be consistent if you keep clinging to things beyond your control. This is why the first and most fundamental strategy of Stoicism starts with something seemingly simple. Write it down. Create 2 columns, one for what you can control and one for what you can't. Then focus all your energy, time, and determination solely on the first column. Think about it. How many times have you given up just because you didn't see immediate results? How many times have you felt discouraged because others didn't support you? Because circumstances weren't favorable, or because life didn't go as planned? How many times have you fallen, not because you lacked ability, but because you were trying to control the entire world while failing to control yourself? This is the misalignment that Stoic philosophy has warned about for centuries. Epictetus once said, "We are not harmed by what happens to us, but by how we perceive what happens to us." And in that statement lies an entire strategy for living. You can't control what others think of you, but you can control how you act. You can't control the weather, but you can control what you wear and whether you get out of bed to go for a run. You can't control whether your video goes viral, but you can control whether you post consistently. Consistent people understand this boundary. They don't let themselves get distracted by outcomes. They focus on actions, on the process, on the small steps they actively take each day. Writing down these 2 lists, what you can control and what you can't, doesn't just help you separate reason from emotion, it forces you to rewire your mental framework. It makes you reflect. Every time you give up, is it because you're holding on to something you can't control? Here's a simple example. You set a goal to lose 5 kilograms in a month. After 10 days, you don't see noticeable changes. You start doubting yourself, wondering, am I doing this right? Is my body just not responding? Should I try something else? And then you quit. But if you truly understand the strategy, you'd never make losing 5 kilograms your focus. Instead, you'd aim for exercising 5 days a week or sticking to a healthy diet for 30 days. Because those are things you can control. How much weight you lose is the outcome, not what you should worry about. Stoicism isn't a philosophy for dreamers. It's for those who want to master reality, starting with themselves. They don't live by expectations. They live by actions. They don't ask, when will I succeed? They ask, what do I need to do right today? And from that, they remain unshaken by chaos, undeterred by failure, and unswayed by glory. They focus on one thing only, what lies within their control. Here's a simple exercise you can do right after this video. Take a blank sheet of paper and divide it in half. On the left, write, I cannot control. On the right, I can control. Be honest, be brave. Lay out all the unrealistic expectations you're chasing. Then cross out the left side. Focus only on the right. Each day, all you need to do is live by that right column. That's how you build consistency, not through motivation, but through clear awareness. If you've ever been caught in the cycle of expectations, emotions, or the fear of losing control, now is the time to pause and reset. And if this lesson resonates with what you're going through, leave a comment below with just one line. I focus only on what I can control. This statement isn't just an affirmation, it's a commitment to yourself. If you find this strategy helpful, hit the like button so more people can discover this powerful mindset. And don't forget to subscribe for the upcoming strategies because this video is just the beginning. There are many more tools the Stoics have left us, each one a lever to help you forge unshakable consistency. Strategy 2, tie discipline to your identity. If you've ever tried to wake up early, eat healthier, or exercise daily but ended up quitting, the issue isn't a lack of willpower or time. The problem is that you're trying to change your behavior without touching the most crucial thing, your identity. This is something truly consistent people understand deeply. They don't just act out of habit, they act as the person they believe they're becoming. That's why this second strategy, tying discipline to your identity, is absolutely vital for sustainable change. Imagine saying to yourself, I'm trying to run every morning. Sound familiar? It's like you're borrowing a new behavior, a new lifestyle, but still holding on to a bit of hesitation. You don't fully believe you're that person yet. That phrasing implies you're just testing it out. And when you're only trying, you give yourself permission to fail. Now, what if you said instead, I'm someone who runs every morning? Doesn't that feel different? It may sound simple, but the difference between I'm trying to do and I am that person is the difference between temporary change and permanent transformation. Stoic philosophy doesn't just teach you to do the right thing, it teaches you to become the right person. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his journal every night to remind himself to act like an emperor, but to ingrain in his mind, I am someone who acts with virtue, not for status or fame, but because that's who I am. Once your behavior is tied to your identity, you no longer wrestle with, should I do it or not? You simply do it, like a natural reflex. This isn't a psychological trick. It's a rewiring of who you are. Behavior stems from belief. If you still believe I'm someone who gives up easily, or I'm not good at sticking to habits, no matter how many times you try, your brain will find reasons to quit. It will pull you back to your comfort zone, where you don't face the pressure of change. So you have to dismantle your old definition of yourself and rewrite it from scratch. Not with empty affirmations like, I'm amazing, but with specific, repeated actions that make your brain unable to deny. This is me. This is who I've chosen to become. Here's a practical example. If you want to be disciplined, don't start by adopting 10 habits at once. Begin with a simple story. I'm someone who makes my bed every morning. Then do it consistently without fail, no exceptions. After a few weeks, that small action isn't just a task. It's living proof of the identity you're building. And as that new identity grows stronger than the old one, consistency becomes as natural as brushing your teeth. Stoics understand one thing clearly. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want, but from choosing the right thing to do and staying fiercely loyal to that choice. Epictetus said, "Don't call yourself a philosopher, live like one." Likewise, you don't need to proclaim your discipline. Just let every action you take prove it. The more you act like the person you want to be, the more you reinforce that image in your mind. And conversely, the more you hesitate or procrastinate, the more you signal to yourself, "I'm still the old me." So this strategy is an invitation to live as if you're already the better version of yourself. No waiting, no negotiating, no excuses. Act as if you already embody that identity. If you want to be disciplined, start behaving like a disciplined person. If you want to be reliable, act like someone who keeps their word, even to themselves. Every action, no matter how small, is a vote cast in the ballot box labeled, "This is who I am." And the best part? Your identity isn't something you're born with. It's something you build day by day, hour by hour, through every action you choose to take or reject. You have complete power to decide who you are, as long as you're willing to pay the price of consistency. If this strategy sparks something in you, if you've been stuck in the cycle of try and quit, start and stop, then leave a comment below. I choose to be disciplined. This will be the first promise you make in the journey to rebuild your identity. And if you find this valuable, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with a friend who's also seeking to change themselves. Be sure to subscribe to keep up with the next strategies because we still have so much to learn, understand, and live. Strategy 3. Remember, emotions are not reliable. If there's one thing that consistently throws people off course, derails their path, and leaves them doubting themselves, it's not circumstances, not other people, and certainly not a lack of ability. It's emotions. Emotions are ever-changing, unpredictable, arriving suddenly and leaving without warning. One day you wake up brimming with motivation. The next you can't even get out of bed. One day you tell yourself, "I'm going to change," and the next you're overeating and procrastinating on everything. So if emotions are constantly shifting, why do we keep relying on them to decide how to live? The Stoics recognized this thousands of years ago. They didn't trust emotions. They didn't live by what they felt, but by what they knew was right. That's why they could stay calm in adversity, composed under pressure, and steadfast in a world of constant change. They put reason in the driver's seat, while emotions were merely passengers, allowed to speak but not to choose the direction. Think about it. How many decisions have you made in anger, exhaustion, or disappointment that you later regretted? And how many good, disciplined, right actions have you skipped simply because you didn't feel inspired? Emotions are signals, not commands. They're like warning lights on a car's dashboard. A light might indicate you need to check something or slow down, but it doesn't mean you should stop the car in the middle of the road. Life works the same way. Feeling tired doesn't mean you can't work out. Feeling bored doesn't mean you should give up. Feeling unmotivated doesn't mean you've lost your goals. The problem is you've grown too accustomed to letting emotions dictate your actions instead of using actions to reshape your emotions. The Stoics did the opposite. They acted even when they didn't feel like it. They focused despite distractions. They kept going even when their mind was in turmoil. Because they knew one simple truth. Emotions are clouds, but reason is the sky. Clouds may shift, but the sky remains. Calm, vast, and unaffected by the weather. Do you remember the last time you canceled a good plan or postponed a positive habit just because you didn't feel ready? That was the moment. That was when your emotions steered your life off course. So from now on, adopt one simple rule. Emotions can show up, but reason makes the decisions. Don't let today's enthusiasm drive your determination only to have tomorrow's sadness make you quit. Live like a Stoic. Do what's right, not because it feels good, but because it's the right thing to do. And remember, actions shape emotions. When you hit the gym, despite feeling tired, you'll feel better after a few minutes of movement. When you start writing those first lines despite a cluttered mind, clarity will begin to emerge. When you make your bed even without enthusiasm, your mind feels just a bit more grounded. That's the power of right action. It reshapes your emotions. Here's an exercise you can do. Whenever you feel stuck, ask yourself, what does my reason say? Write it down if you need to. State clearly, I'm feeling X, but I know I need to do Y. That small sentence is a stepping stone to breaking free from the grip of emotions. It forces you to have a dialogue with yourself and puts control back in your hands. If you do this often enough, you'll notice emotions are still there, but they no longer have the power to dominate you. If this lesson resonates with your experience, leave a comment below with one line. I act based on reason, not emotions. This is a commitment you're making to yourself. And if you're thinking of a friend who's often pulled off track by their emotions, share this video with them. It might be exactly what they need to hear. Of course, hit the like button if you found this helpful, and subscribe to the channel to keep exploring the next Stoic strategies. Lessons not just for thinking, but for applying, for living, for transforming. Strategy 4. Set rules and don't negotiate with yourself. There's something quietly undermining your consistency every day, and it doesn't come from the outside world, other people, or a lack of knowledge or skills. It comes from the silent negotiations you hold in your head each morning. Each time you're tired, each time you're tested. That's when you start bargaining with yourself. It's okay to sleep in just a bit today. I can skip the workout and make up for it tomorrow. No one will know if I don't write today. And so, you let it slide once, then again, until doing the right thing vanishes, replaced by a habit of weakness. That's exactly why you need to set rules and stick to them unwaveringly. No bargaining, no flexibility, no exceptions. Stoics understand that true freedom doesn't come from having endless choices, but from limiting them at the right time. When you set a rule for yourself, you eliminate the need to make a decision every day. You don't ask, should I work out today? You just do it because it's part of who you are. Setting rules and committing to them is how you reclaim control over yourself. It's your declaration, I control myself, not my emotions. To picture this, think of a general on the battlefield. He might be surrounded by enemies, low on supplies, or facing heavy losses. But if he sits down every day to ask, should I keep fighting? He's already lost before stepping onto the field. A strong general decides beforehand, I don't surrender. Every action that follows revolves around that unshakable belief. In everyday life, you're in a battle too, against procrastination, weakness, and distractions. You'll never win if you keep questioning your commitment daily. Stoics don't live by inspiration. They live by rules. They don't let their mood dictate their actions. They let principles guide them. If you wake up at 5 a.m. every day, then rain, cold, or sleepless nights won't make you late. If you set a rule to study at least 30 minutes daily, you do it even when you're not in the mood. Because rules are law. Laws don't have gray areas or temporary pauses. The more gray areas you allow, the easier it is to lose your way. The problem is, most people fear rules because they see them as restrictions, as force, as a loss of freedom. But in reality, rules free you from chaos. They're an anchor when emotions run wild. They're a compass when you don't know what to do next. The clearer you are with yourself, the less you struggle with repetitive decisions. And every time you follow your rules, you're not just building discipline, you're building trust in yourself. Each time you refuse to negotiate, you prove you're someone who keeps their word. Each time you act rightly without forcing yourself, you're becoming someone unshakable. If you do this right, something strange happens. You'll find you no longer need much willpower to do the right thing. It becomes a reflex. You don't need motivation to act because rules replace motivation. You'll enter a state I call effortless consistency, living disciplined without feeling like you're suffering. You won't need to convince yourself daily, You'll just follow the path you've set. If you've ever been caught in the cycle of morning resolve and evening surrender, if you've struggled to do the right thing consistently, it might be because you haven't set clear, non-negotiable rules. Today, I want you to do one thing. Write down a single, specific rule. Commit to it for the next 7 days, just one. If you feel you can do it, comment below, "I will live by the rule I choose." And share your rule if you want me to check in with you. If this strategy hits home, hit the like button to let me know you're still with me. Subscribe to catch the next strategies in this journey to build an unyielding mindset. And if you have a friend who negotiates with themselves too much, don't hesitate to share this video with them. You might just be the one to spark their discipline. Strategy 5. Embrace purposeful discomfort. Nobody likes feeling uncomfortable, that's obvious. Humans are naturally wired to seek ease, safety, and comfort. But that's exactly why most people struggle with consistency. Comfort is the silent enemy of progress. It leads to procrastination, compromise, and settling for a mediocre version of yourself. So, what separates the consistent from the quitters? It's not strength or talent. It's the ability to deliberately endure discomfort. Stoics don't shy away from hardship. They walk straight into it to forge themselves. This is the strategy you need to adopt if you want to build a mind as strong as steel. Embracing purposeful discomfort means deliberately putting yourself in situations that aren't easy, convenient, or comfortable, purely to train your self-control. Not because you want to suffer, but because you want to become unbreakable. This is why Stoics practice cold baths in winter, walked barefoot on hot roads, or ate simply despite having abundance. They didn't do it out of necessity, but to teach themselves a vital lesson. I don't need comfort to live rightly. Once you realize you can act correctly despite feeling uneasy, you've already stepped into the territory of the truly consistent. In today's world, where everything is designed for comfort, doorstep delivery, instant food, endless entertainment, you gradually lose the ability to handle hardship. You feel cold, so you stay under the blanket. You feel tired, so you procrastinate. You feel bored, so you mindlessly scroll on your phone. This uncontrolled comfort weakens you, not physically but mentally. And without mental strength, consistency is impossible. That's why you must train purposeful discomfort as part of your self-building plan. Take a cold shower every morning, push your workout to its limit, practice intermittent fasting. Turn off your phone for a few hours daily. Step out of your comfort zone willingly to send yourself a clear message. I can endure. I can do the hard thing. I don't need ease to do what's right. You'll be amazed at how much bigger the impact is than you expect. A cold shower doesn't just wake up your body, it reminds you that you can face difficulty and control your reaction. Running in the rain doesn't just build stamina, it builds discipline that no condition can break. Fasting for a few hours isn't just good for health, it teaches you that you're not a slave to immediate cravings. Each action is a brick in the foundation of a steel mind. A mind that no longer trembles at discomfort, but learns to live with it, use it, and conquer it. Stoics believe that what you avoid is where you're weakest, and where you're weakest is exactly where you need to train the most. If you fear hunger, learn to embrace it. If you panic without your phone, create time away from it. If sitting still for 10 minutes of meditation drives you crazy, start there. Discomfort is opportunity. Every time you face it, you grow stronger. And if you do it long enough, what once scared you becomes where you dominate. That's how you build consistency, not through fleeting motivation, but through repeated victories over discomfort. I know it sounds easy, but isn't simple to do. And that's exactly why most people stay stuck in stagnation, because nobody wants to do the hard thing. But you're here, which means you refuse to settle for that. If you truly want to transform, start today. No grand gestures needed. Just pick one uncomfortable thing you've been avoiding and face it deliberately. Maybe it's waking up an hour earlier. Maybe it's turning off all devices for 3 hours in the evening. Maybe it's running in the rain. What matters isn't what you do, but the mindset you bring to it. Do it with the spirit of training. Do it with the intent to build yourself. Do it with a clear awareness that this is how you create an unbreakable person. If this strategy resonates with what you need, comment below. I'm ready to embrace discomfort and share the first action you'll take to start. I'll read every comment and join you on this journey. Hit the like button if this hits home about the excessive comfort holding you back. Subscribe to the channel for the next strategies, and if you know a friend who always avoids the hard stuff, share this video with them. Sometimes the right reminder at the right time can shift the entire trajectory of someone's life. Strategy 6. Turn small actions into grand rituals. There's a common but flawed mindset that many people fall into, believing that only big actions matter, that only massive changes yield results. This belief leads you to dismiss the small daily tasks and easily skip them. You think only a giant leap forward is worth the effort. But the truth is, life doesn't change through one grand decision. It transforms little by little through the seemingly trivial actions you repeat. The Stoics understood this. They didn't wait for epic moments to act. They lived each day as if it were their entire life, treating every small action like a ritual, a way to honor themselves in their existence. When you make your bed in the morning, it's not just about tidying sheets. It's a signal to your mind that you're in control of the day. When you jot down a few lines in a journal, it's not just note-taking. It's a dialogue with your inner self, realigning your path. When you drink a glass of warm water, sit up straight, and breathe deeply before starting work, it's not just a mechanical act. It's a ritual marking the shift from laziness to focus. Small actions, when performed with full attention and reverence, become the pillars of consistency. They send a powerful message. I don't do this because it's grand. I do it because I'm someone who values every step, no matter how small. One of the biggest mistakes people make when building habits is inconsistency in their approach. They run today with fierce determination, but tomorrow just go through the motions. They write in their journal excitedly one day, then scribble a few words the next because they're too busy. This inconsistency prevents habits from taking root in the subconscious. Stoics don't do this. They treat every action as a ritual, not a formal ceremony, but an inner one. It's about bringing your full mind into the present and performing an action with complete awareness. When you pour water, you're pouring attention. When you fold clothes, you're folding the chaos in your mind. When you pick up a pen to write the first lines of the day, you're not just writing, you're declaring, I'm present, I'm proactive, I'm in control. How you do one small thing is how you do everything. That might sound extreme, but think about it. If you're sloppy folding your blanket, you'll be lax with your work. If you skip a small task, you'll find it easier to skip bigger ones. Consistency isn't about keeping promises to the world. It's about keeping promises to yourself in the things no one else notices. The Stoics would say, no action is small if it shapes your character. And the more you perform those actions with seriousness, the more you ingrain an identity. I'm someone who does what's right, no matter the scale. So how do you turn small actions into grand rituals? First, be fully present. When you act, just act. Don't fold clothes while scrolling your phone. Don't sip water while thinking about unanswered emails. Give the action your complete attention. Second, repeat consistently. A ritual isn't a one-time event. It becomes sacred through repetition with a certain reverence. Make your bed every morning. Meditate for 5 minutes before work. Write down 3 things you're grateful for each night. It doesn't need to be complex, it needs to be steady. Third, infuse it with personal meaning. When you do something, know why you're doing it. Don't run just to burn calories. Run to forge your will. Don't journal just to remember. Write to preserve your soul. When you turn small actions into meaningful rituals, a profound shift happens. You no longer live by fleeting inspiration. You live by structure. Your days are framed by fixed rhythms. Each action becomes a brick building a stronger version of you. Most importantly, you start trusting yourself. You see that if you can do a small thing well, you can do anything well. Consistency isn't running 10 kilometers in one go. It's running 1 kilometer every day without fail. Not rushed, not flashy, but never giving up. If you've ever dismissed small actions as unimportant, it's time to change your perspective. Look at one thing you do daily and give it new meaning. Turn it into a ritual. Journal each night as a way to keep your promise to yourself. Clear your desk as a way to clear your mind. Each time you act, remind yourself, I'm not doing this for others to see, I'm doing it to build inner stability. If this strategy resonates with you, comment below. I will turn small actions into grand rituals and share one action you'll start today. If you find this valuable, like the video to spread this message further, and subscribe to catch the next strategies in this journey to live strongly and consistently in the Stoic spirit. Strategy 7. Don't trust yourself, prepare in advance. One of the most common mistakes people make when it comes to consistency is believing that sheer determination is enough to achieve anything. They think that if they want it badly enough, they'll wake up on time, eat right, exercise regularly, and work with focus. But reality doesn't work that way. Humans are full of contradictions. Reason and emotion don't always align. In most situations, especially when you're tired, stressed, or discouraged, you are not reliable. You'll make excuses, you'll procrastinate, you'll convince yourself that skipping today is fine. That's why you can't rely solely on willpower. You need to prepare in advance so you don't have to trust yourself too much. This is a highly practical principle the Stoics applied early on. They knew that in moments of stress, humans default to their weakest instincts. So they didn't wait until challenges arose to react. They prepared everything in advance, creating environments, systems, and clear plans to minimize dependence on fleeting emotions. They didn't trust inspiration. They trusted structure, and that's what you need to do if you want to stay consistent long-term. Take a simple example. You want to wake up at 5 a.m. to exercise. If the night before you don't set an alarm, lay out your workout clothes, or tidy your sleeping area, then when the alarm rings in the morning, you'll have 100 reasons to stay in bed. Your body isn't awake, it's still dark. You don't know what to wear, so you sleep in, not because you lack a goal, but because you didn't prepare to achieve it. A right action always starts with a conducive environment. Consistent people don't bank on their willpower always being strong. They're smarter than that. They arrange things so the right choice is the easiest and the wrong one is the hardest. If you want to eat healthily, don't just say, I won't snack anymore. Clear all junk food from your fridge. Stock it with prepared, healthy meals. If you want to read every night, don't let your book get buried in a pile of papers. Place it on your pillow where you can't miss it when you lie down. If you want to work with focus, don't rely on willpower to avoid distractions. Install an app to block social media, leave your phone in another room, and create a quiet workspace. Every step of preparation is a way to protect yourself from your weaker self. Stoics didn't believe humans are always strong. On the contrary, they acknowledged weakness. And that's why they designed their lives so their weaker side had no chance to win. They knew evenings are for rational planning, while mornings are when you're most vulnerable. So they planned ahead. They didn't wait until they were hungry to decide what to eat. They didn't wait for stress to find a solution. They didn't wait until they lost control to figure out how to be more consistent. Everything was anticipated, arranged, and set up in advance. Like a general heading into battle, never stepping onto the field without a strategy. You should do the same. Don't let your consistency depend on daily emotions. Ask yourself, what can I prepare in advance to make doing the right thing effortless? What can I rearrange to eliminate the chance of failure? When you live with these questions daily, you turn consistency into a system, not a matter of fleeting motivation. The beauty is, the more you prepare, the less you need willpower. The less you're swayed by emotions. The closer you get to the strong, disciplined, proactive version of yourself you want to be. Here's a simple exercise. Pick one thing you often abandon or mess up. List every factor that leads to your failure. Then write down what you can prepare in advance to eliminate those risks. If you keep eating unhealthy food, clear your fridge. Buy good ingredients and prep meals ahead. If you scroll social media too much, uninstall apps, set time limits, or keep your phone out of reach. If you stay up late and wake up late, set a fixed bedtime, turn off screens an hour earlier, and place your alarm clock where you have to get out of bed to turn it off. These aren't tricks. They're strategies, and if you apply them, you'll see real results. If this lesson hits at your overconfidence in willpower, comment below. I will prepare in advance to protect my goals. Share the first action you'll prepare more effectively. I'll read your comments. If you find this strategy helpful, hit the like button to spread it to more people, because we've all lost to our weaker selves at some point. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. The next parts will dive even deeper into turning ideas into actions, willpower into systems, and you into someone who's not just consistent for a week, but for a lifetime. Strategy 8. Practice saying no. There's one simple yet critical skill that, if you don't master, can shatter any plan for discipline or consistency at any moment. It's not planning or enduring extremes. It's the ability to say no at the right time. Yes, just one word, no, carries the power to determine whether you stay on your path of self-improvement. Every time you say no to temptation, you're saying yes to yourself. Conversely, every time you agree to something misaligned, out of politeness or fear of missing out, you trade a piece of your willpower for fleeting comfort. Stoics viewed refusal as a cornerstone of freedom. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's the ability to avoid what's unnecessary. Nobody forces you to check social media right after waking up. Nobody makes you go out tonight when you know you need to wake early tomorrow. Nobody compels you to eat that sweet when you're sticking to a diet. Yet you do these things because you haven't learned to say no. That's why you can't stay consistent even with willpower. You don't fail because you lack determination. You fail because you lack firmness in the smallest moments. When you practice saying no to things that don't serve your goals, you build a barrier protecting your time, energy, and will. You preserve the character of someone who knows what they need and isn't easily swayed by the chaos of the outside world. In an era where everything competes for your attention, the skill of refusal becomes an essential weapon. Like any skill, it requires practice. You can't wait for a tough situation to learn how to refuse. You must train to say no, starting with the smallest things. For example, when someone invites you to hang out on a Monday night and you know it's your study time, say no clearly. No excuses, no justifications. Just say, I'm focusing on personal goals, maybe another time. When you're about to watch the 20th video of the day, stop and say, no, I need to rest my eyes and get back to work. When you see a box of pastries in the afternoon and your mind wavers, say no. I'm choosing what nourishes my body, not harms it. Each time you do this, no matter how small, you reinforce the identity of someone in control. You nurture a willpower that can't be manipulated. Practicing saying no also frees you from the need to please everyone. A major reason people lose direction is because they say yes to too much. They nod to invitations, unnecessary responsibilities, irrelevant tasks, and meaningless conversations, leaving nothing for themselves by day's end. Stoics didn't live like that. They lived with boundaries. They knew every yes was a no to something else, so they chose carefully. They weren't rude, but they were firm. They didn't refuse to show power, but to honor their commitment to themselves. One key thing to remember: the more you say no to misaligned things, the more valuable your yes becomes. When you say yes to reading because you've refused distractions, you read with greater focus. When you agree to a meetup because you genuinely want to be there, not because you fear missing out, you're fully present. When you dedicate time to someone, it's because you chose them, not because you couldn't refuse. This makes you live with more depth, strength, and purpose. If you find yourself swept along by life, if saying no without guilt feels hard, it's time to practice saying no daily. Start by writing down 3 things you need to say no to this week. Maybe it's declining an unnecessary hangout. Maybe it's avoiding a negative debate. Maybe it's turning off phone notifications after 9 p.m. Then practice each one. When you do, you'll notice something remarkable. You don't lose anything. You just reclaim control. If this strategy resonates with where you are right now, comment below. I will practice saying no every day. Share one thing you'll refuse starting today. If this hits home about your habit of people-pleasing or giving in to temptation, like the video to let me know you're still on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe for the next strategies to live more disciplined, strong, and clear each day. And if you know someone who's always saying yes to the world but neglecting themselves, share this video with them. Sometimes one timely no can save a life from drifting aimlessly. Strategy 9. Keep a journal. Dialogue with yourself in a noisy world constantly interrupted by notifications, messages, short videos, and work emails. One thing is becoming more luxurious than ever: silence. And within that silence lies a vital conversation that many people are losing: the dialogue with themselves. To others, journaling might seem like a simple, even pointless habit, but for Stoics, it's a sacred ritual, an indispensable tool for understanding yourself, correcting yourself, and keeping your mind from being swept away by meaningless distractions. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor seen as the epitome of Stoicism, wrote every night reflecting on his thoughts, behaviors, shortcomings, and reminders of the principles he lived by. His book Meditations, read by millions today, was actually his personal journal, never meant for publication. That's what makes it so profoundly authentic. Journaling isn't for others to read, it's for you to see yourself clearly, without embellishment, without excuses, without hiding. Journaling transforms vague thoughts into concrete form. When you write, you're forced to shape ideas into words, name your emotions, and confront truths you usually avoid. If you've ever felt your mind is chaotic, confused, or full of contradictions, it's not because you lack answers. It's because you haven't sat down to have a conversation with yourself. Journaling is that moment when you pause and listen to your inner voice, honestly and patiently. Consistent people aren't immune to going off track. They're just aware when they do and pull themselves back. A journal is a mirror of your inner self. Each line chips away at the facade your ego builds to protect complacency. When you write that you skipped your workout today, you can shoo in it, blame the weather or your mood. You see clearly that the choice was yours. And when you write the reason, you start to see whether it was truly justified. Over time, you learn to be honest with yourself, a rare and precious quality. Journaling doesn't need to be long-winded. A few lines each day with simple yet profound questions are enough. What did I do well today? What important thing did I miss? How did my emotions sway me? Am I living true to my values? What am I avoiding? These questions act as a mental compass, keeping you from straying in a world that thrives on distraction. More importantly, recording your daily journey creates a personal history you can revisit. A week, a month, a year later, reading your past entries shows how you've changed, grown, and what lessons you've forgotten and need to relearn. This is a quiet but powerful form of discipline, as it allows you to refine yourself like an artisan, carefully sculpting a statue of your soul. In the digital age, many see handwriting as outdated, but I urge you to try it, at least at first. Handwriting doesn't allow easy edits. Each stroke carries raw emotion. It forces you to slow down, creating space to truly connect with yourself. It doesn't need to be poetic or grammatically perfect. Just true to you. That's all that matters. If you keep repeating the same mistakes without knowing why, if your mind feels like a noisy room you can't quiet, start writing. All you need is a notebook and a pen. Every morning before the day begins, or every night when the world is still, write what's happening inside you. No audience, no judgment. Write to untangle, write to connect, write to live more clearly. If you've long known about this strategy but never took it seriously, today is the perfect time to start. Comment below, I will start journaling every day. And if you already have a notebook, write your first line right after this video. If this resonates with something deep inside you, like the video to let me know you're still here, striving every day. Subscribe to follow the next steps in this journey of building a Stoic mind. Not to become perfect, but to become resilient, clear, and self-mastered. Strategy 10. Choose to suffer today for freedom tomorrow. There's a strange paradox that few realize until they've stumbled enough times. True freedom doesn't come from doing what you like, but from daring to do what you dislike, so you can eventually live as you wish. The question isn't whether you want freedom, but whether you're willing to endure hardship today to earn it. Because freedom isn't given, it's traded for, fought for, built with sweat, perseverance, and unseen sacrifices. Stoics didn't shy away from hardship. They didn't avoid struggle or difficulty. Instead, they faced it head-on as an essential part of growth. They understood that if you don't endure hardship today, you'll face a different kind tomorrow. Today's suffering is voluntary, waking up early to study instead of sleeping in, training for health instead of lounging all day, saying no to reckless spending for financial stability. Tomorrow's suffering is forced, scrambling for work due to lacking skills, paying the price for poor health, or living in anxiety from paycheck to paycheck. A wise person chooses the first kind of suffering to avoid the second. Consistency doesn't come from ease. It comes from willingly facing difficulty daily to forge a stronger self. When you wake up at 5 a.m. despite the cold, sit down to work without inspiration, or say no to easy distractions to pursue long-term goals, you're choosing a harder path today for an easier future. Each time you overcome temporary hardship, you don't just complete a task, you expand your inner limits. Over time, these limits transform you into someone self-mastered, unshaken by circumstances, unswayed by emotions, and unbound by the world's pull. A core Stoic concept is premeditatio malorum, mentally preparing for the worst. Stoics didn't pray for an easy life. They readied themselves for challenges, even creating small daily hardships to train their minds. They wore old clothes, ate simple meals, slept on hard floors, not out of necessity, but to teach themselves. I can survive without everything. I can endure without comfort, and I'll never lose my dignity because of changing circumstances. The greatest freedom is not depending on ease. To achieve that, you must learn to endure hardship while you still have abundance. Think back. Aren't all the things you value in life the result of enduring hardship? Your degree didn't come from sporadic study, but from months of grinding. Your fitness isn't from one workout, but from days of sweat. Strong relationships aren't built on fun nights out, but on staying through tough times. So if you want a lasting life, you must choose the hard path now. Don't wait for difficulty to hit before learning to cope. The strong prepare when the skies are clear, not when the storm arrives. Choosing to suffer today is a smart strategy. When you're accustomed to discomfort, it no longer controls you. When you know you've trained in the rain, studied through exhaustion, or resisted temptation in weak moments, small challenges no longer scare you. That's when you become free. No one can threaten someone who doesn't fear hardship. No one can manipulate someone who has mastered themselves. No one can stop someone who embraces pain to reach what truly matters. If you've thought freedom comes when you have enough money, time, or conditions, you're being misled. Freedom is built through action, hour by hour, day by day. It's refusing unnecessary purchases to save for investments. It's studying each night despite fatigue for better career prospects. It's prioritizing discipline over fleeting emotions. These aren't easy, but they liberate you. They pull you from a half-lived existence. They lead to a life of purpose, depth, and true freedom. If this strategy reflects your current journey, if you feared hardship or avoided difficulty and now want change, comment below, "I choose to suffer today for freedom tomorrow." Share one thing you'll endure starting today to hold yourself accountable. Like the video if this makes you rethink how you're living. If you haven't subscribed, let this be your reminder. The next videos will help you build more layers of strength for a better you. And if you know someone drained by chasing ease, share this video with them. It might be the push they need to start. You've walked this long journey with me, listening to each strategy, reflecting on every action, and facing your own inner weaknesses. If you've made it this far, you're no longer someone just watching to know. You're ready to do things differently, to live more clearly, strongly, and consistently. But listening alone isn't enough. The most important part is always action. And that action starts now, not tomorrow, not when everything's perfect, but while you're still uncertain, busy, or unprepared. Pick one strategy from today's video, just one. Commit to it for the next 7 days. Write it down, make the promise, share it in the comments below if you need someone to hold you accountable. Because when you speak it out, you turn intention into a vow. And if you're truly serious about transforming yourself, hit the like button to affirm you've begun. Subscribe to keep walking this path toward becoming unshakable. And if you know someone struggling, feeling weak, or lost, don't hesitate to share this video. One person's change can shift the course of an entire life. No one forces you to be consistent, but if you want a life worth living, you must demand it of yourself. No one else will do it for you. Only you can, and you start today.